There's the lineup for semi-final 2. Shania Thompson of Guyana in lane number 1, Tanir Gardner of Turks and Caicos in 2, Samisha Leonard of the British Virgin Islands in lane number 3, Shameika McLean of Jamaica in 4, Chanel Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis in 5, Kyah Hyson of Trinidad and Tobago in 6, Amaris Munia of Bermuda in 7, and Isabella Emilian of St. Lucia goes in lane number 8.
McLean of Jamaica coming in with the fastest time for the season, 54.47. Just after her would be Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis, 55.53. But this is where it counts now. They have to pull out all the stops to qualify. Kyah Hyson of Trinidad and Tobago, 56.29. So all the action coming in lanes 4, 5, and 6, as you would expect.
Very much the case. Shameika McLean, the Jamaican, has gone 3 times under 55 seconds this season. That 54.47 you referenced, one of those, she has gone even faster at 54.22 as well. There she is, McLean. Some would say from a little known school in Clarendon, central Jamaica, called Fogo Road. They have produced a lot of good quality over the years, mostly on the boys' side in the past, to have done well. And McLean will be looking to deliver for her school as much as her country here at the CARIFTA Games. She starts here in lane number 4. Chanel Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis in the field as well, was a bronze medalist in the Bahamas. Finished just outside the medals last year in Grenada in 4th position. And the Kittian will go in lane number 5. As we have a look there at lane number 3, that's Samisha Leonard of the British Virgin Islands. Just outside 58.5 seconds this season. If she is to be in the final, I think she knows she will have to go faster here.
2 of the last 3 champions in this event have come from Jamaica. Natasha Fletcher last year, and of course back in 2023, Abigail Campbell. We've had a good mix of winners in this one. Also the Guyanese runner, Tiana Springer, and Megan Moss, the record holder, winning back in 2019.
Second semi-final of the under-17 girls 400 meters. Top 3 sure to go through, plus the next 2 fastest. Sent off. Chanel Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis in lane number 5 got up quickly. On her outside in lane number 6, Kyah Hyson of Trinidad and Tobago. The forward lean of Hyson taking her down the backstretch well, with McLean fully into her running now, the Jamaican. They go through 200 meters. McLean has run a fabulous first half of the race. Chanel Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis getting into her running as well, and chases the Jamaican. 3 short to go through. McLean transitions well down the stretch. She continues her outstanding season with a commanding lead in qualifying for the under-17 girls 400 meters. Thomas is back in 2nd for St. Kitts and Nevis, and Hyson will get 3rd for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, impressive there from the young Jamaican. She absolutely blew away the field, and she really took command of this race at the 200-meter mark, and it was all over at that point. Good run there by Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis. We expected her to be in the top 3, and Hyson finishing well at the end to finish 3rd. Maybe put in a bit too much at the end, because she had all sewn up 3rd place. But the top 3, as we expected, the seeded runners getting through to the next round.
It is setting up to be a terrific final later on from what we've seen in qualifying. Kyah Thomas of the Bahamas and Shameika McLean of Jamaica. They are in for quite a battle come the championship race tonight. 2 Trinbagonians will be in that final as well, so a lot for the home crowd to cheer about. But that was quality qualification by the Jamaican Shameika McLean.
Hyson making her way into the crowd. She'll be pretty happy with what she's done, qualifying for the finals alongside her compatriot Eden Chiwa.
like has become very common in junior athletics across the region. Kyah Hyson trains in Jamaica, and so she would have seen McLean several times this season already.
Several times too many, maybe.
Chanel Thomas, so much talent for me, but I still feel as if she's not fully learned how to run this event. And when she does, I think her times will get quicker. The bronze medalist from 2 seasons ago, just outside the medals, 4th last year, should love to get back into the medals for St. Kitts and Nevis. And from qualification, there's no doubt she'll have a shot, but she'll have to put a quality race together come the final later on. Confirmation. McLean wins at 54.65, Thomas 56.72, Hyson 56.91, and Samisha Leonard of the British Virgin Islands at 59.22 will not make the final. That means the non-automatic qualifiers both come from semi-final 1.
The second semi-final of the under-17 girls 400 meters at the 2025 CARIFTA Games in Trinidad and Tobago was a race that revealed far more than the final results alone. Jamaica's Shameika McLean entered the event as one of the leading contenders, and her performance in the semifinal showed exactly why. She did not simply qualify for the championship race. She controlled the race, imposed her pace on the field, and created a gap large enough to make the final stages almost irrelevant from a competitive perspective. McLean came into the semifinal with the strongest credentials in the field. Her season had already included several performances below 55 seconds, highlighted by a personal best of 54.22 and a season-leading 54.47 before the championship. That placed her clearly ahead of the other athletes on paper. Chanel Thomas of St. Kitts and Nevis had entered with a 55.53 season best, while Trinidad and Tobago's Kyah Hyson had run 56.29. Those numbers suggested that McLean was the athlete everyone else would have to chase. But the 400 meters is not an event where a strong entry time automatically guarantees victory. It demands a precise balance between speed, relaxation, positioning, and the ability to maintain mechanics when fatigue becomes severe. That was particularly important here because only the first 3 athletes were guaranteed automatic qualification. The next 2 places would be decided by the fastest times from the other semifinals. Every runner therefore had 2 objectives: secure qualification and avoid wasting energy unnecessarily. From lane 4, McLean had the ideal position to execute her race without becoming distracted by athletes too far outside her. Thomas occupied lane 5, with Hyson in lane 6, creating a central group that naturally attracted most of the attention. Hyson made an aggressive opening, using a pronounced forward lean and attacking the backstretch with determination. Thomas also established herself quickly, understanding that she needed to remain close enough to the Jamaican to protect her automatic qualifying position. McLean, however, appeared to have a completely different level of control. The opening 200 meters was the decisive phase of the race. Instead of rushing into an uncontrolled sprint, McLean accelerated progressively and allowed her stride to develop. Her movement became more fluid as she entered the backstretch, and by the halfway point she had already established clear authority. The commentary noted that she had run an extremely strong first half, and this was crucial because the race effectively changed character after 200 meters. The key was not simply that McLean was ahead, it was how easily she appeared to increase the separation. A 400-meter runner can gain several meters in the first half and then lose them rapidly during the final 100 meters if the pace has been excessive. McLean showed no such collapse. Her transition from the backstretch into the final bend remained composed, and she continued to extend her advantage. Her stride stayed powerful enough to maintain momentum, while the athletes behind her began fighting for position rather than challenging for victory. Thomas was the clearest threat to the Jamaican. The St. Kitts and Nevis athlete had already demonstrated championship-level experience, having won bronze at CARIFTA 2 years earlier and finished 4th the previous year. Her semifinal was therefore less about discovering whether she belonged in the final and more about proving that she could again compete for a medal. She did exactly what was necessary, maintaining second position and crossing in 56.72. Hyson faced a different challenge. As a Trinidad and Tobago athlete competing in front of the home crowd, she had additional motivation. But motivation alone cannot replace execution in a 400-meter race. She pushed hard through the bend and produced enough strength in the closing stages to secure third in 56.91. That was particularly important because third place guaranteed automatic qualification, eliminating the uncertainty of waiting for results from the other semifinals. McLean's final time of 54.65 was significant for another reason. It was only a fraction away from her 54.47 season-leading mark and comfortably inside the 55-second barrier. She had not needed to produce a new personal best. She had needed to qualify efficiently, and she accomplished that with authority. The margin of victory tells the story even more clearly. McLean finished almost 2 seconds ahead of Thomas. In a 400-meter semi-final at this level, that is an enormous competitive separation. It demonstrated that the Jamaican was not merely benefiting from a favorable draw or winning a tactical battle. She possessed a genuine performance advantage over the athletes in this heat. There was also an important psychological element. McLean was competing at a championship where expectations were already attached to her name. Jamaica had a strong tradition in the event, and the U-17 400 meters had recently produced Jamaican champions such as Abigail Campbell in 2023 and Natasha Fletcher in 2024. McLean therefore entered the competition not as an unknown athlete hoping to surprise the field, but as one of the athletes expected to contend for the title. That changes the way a race must be managed. A favorite can easily become trapped by the need to prove superiority from the first step. McLean avoided that mistake in the semifinal. She did not appear to chase the clock at every stage. Instead, she concentrated on controlling the race. Once the gap was established, she could protect her mechanics and focus on reaching the final without unnecessary risk. Her background also made the performance especially interesting. McLean represented a school in Clarendon, Jamaica, and her emergence reflected the depth of Jamaican junior sprinting. Jamaica's strength is not limited to producing one exceptional athlete every few years. The country continually develops young runners capable of competing across sprint events, and McLean's progression was another example of that system. However, the semifinal also exposed an important detail about the 400 meters. Dominance in one round does not guarantee dominance in the championship final. The official results from the competition show that McLean ultimately finished fifth in the final in 58.21 seconds, while Antigua and Barbuda's Tyra Fenton won in 53.93, ahead of Bahamas athlete Kyah Thomas in 54.34 and DeChanel Thomas in 55.71. That contrast makes the semifinal even more valuable to analyze. McLean's 54.65 qualifying performance was genuine evidence of her ability, but the final demonstrated how dramatically the competitive and physical demands can change when all the leading athletes race together. In the semifinal, McLean was able to create separation early and manage the rest of the race. In the final, she faced a much stronger concentration of athletes running at or near her level. The margin for tactical error disappeared, and the energy cost of the opening stages became much greater. Her fifth-place finish should therefore not erase what she demonstrated in qualifying. Instead, it highlights the difference between controlling a semifinal and reproducing that performance under maximum championship pressure. Another detail from the semifinal was McLean's ability to transition through the critical third phase of the race. The 400 meters is often decided between approximately 200 and 300 meters, when athletes must maintain speed while the body begins accumulating significant fatigue. McLean attacked this section particularly well. She did not simply run hard in the first half and survive the second. She continued to accelerate through the bend and entered the final straight with the race already under control. Thomas and Hyson were forced into a different type of race. Their priority became maintaining qualification positions rather than attempting to match McLean's pace. Thomas succeeded with a disciplined second-place finish, while Hyson's closing speed secured third. The British Virgin Islands' Shameika Leonard finished fourth in 59.22 and did not advance, illustrating how expensive even a small performance gap can become at a championship where only a limited number of athletes qualify automatically. The semifinal therefore represented a near-perfect qualification performance from McLean. She had the fastest credentials, converted them into the fastest time of the heat, controlled the decisive middle section, and crossed the line in 54.65 without needing to fight for qualification in the final meters. Most importantly, the race showed that McLean possessed the tools required of a serious 400-meter prospect. Speed over the first half, controlled acceleration through the bend, strong posture under pressure, and enough strength to maintain a decisive advantage into the final straight. The weakness exposed later in the championship was not a lack of raw ability. It was the challenge of transferring semifinal dominance into a final packed with athletes capable of running at the same level. That is what makes this race so revealing. The semifinal was not simply a case of one young Jamaican beating a group of competitors. It was a demonstration of how a high-level junior 400-meter runner can use controlled aggression to break a race open. McLean's 54.65 confirmed her status as one of the major talents in the field and showed why she was considered a serious title contender before the final. The final result may have changed the story, but it did not change the evidence from this semifinal. For one race at least, Shameika McLean made the field look almost powerless to respond.